Hey, what's up everyone? Today I wanted to go back and revisit Fallout 4 with the high resolution texture pack, which in case you missed came out a few days ago. We did initial performance testing on this with 1080p and 1440p. I had used the GTX 1080 for Nvidia, and for AMD I used my MSI RX 480, where we didn't see a massive hit in terms of performance on either of those cards, but a lot of people had brought up testing in different locations of the game, like in Diamond City, just kind of away from Sanctuary, where I did all of my main testing there in that previous video, and also testing in 4K. So I wanted to go back and do a full video in just 4K 60 FPS, so all of the gameplay that you're watching here was played and captured at native 4K 60 FPS and then uploaded in that as well. So the resolution, you should be able to set the resolution to 4K 60 FPS once YouTube's processing and everything sort of finishes up, which will give you a much higher bitrate, so hopefully you can kind of appreciate the high resolution textures in 4K, just like I was when I was playing it. With the YouTube compression at 1080p, even 1440p, you start to see a pretty big dip in the max bitrate that you can get on YouTube, around 26 million megabits per second, whereas at 4K 60 FPS, you get 68 million megabits per second, so a much higher bitrate for 4K 60. So hopefully, even if you're watching on a 1080p screen here, you can kind of take advantage of the 4K option to just get a much higher bitrate so that you can kind of take a look at these textures here on the high-res texture pack. And I did walk around in Diamond City so that you guys can kind of see the impact on that in 4K on my GTX 1080, which is overclocked. I do have an additional 200 megahertz on the core and 300 megahertz on the memory, but you can see most of the time we are staying up above 60 frames per second here, even in Diamond City, which is one of the more taxing areas of the game. There are certainly times where we get down into the 50s in here in the city, but still a very playable experience. This is not like a really fast-paced Twitch shooter where you're going to be playing with other people where you constantly need a solid 60 frames, but 60 FPS is, obviously the ideal. It's what we want to get most of the time. But seeing a GTX 1080 able to power this game at 4K with the high-res texture pack is still very impressive. Certainly hopeful for Titan X Pascal owners out there that might be looking to run this texture pack, that it'd be well optimized enough for you to run it in 4K. But I wanted to revisit this because Bethesda had told us that we would need a GTX 1080 to sort of run this texture pack with 8 gigabytes of VRAM, and it didn't really seem like that was the case even at 1440p. But now bumping it up to 4K, you can regularly see our VRAM here approaching up to 7 gigabytes used, while at 1440p it was just around 5 gigabytes, so really barely even going over 5 gigabytes, and now we're up to 7 gigabytes using it at 4K, so much more taxing, but still able to maintain and get a good average frame rate, certainly when going around in the heavier parts of the city. When I went out into the open wasteland kind of and got into combat with some of the, I think it was a Rad Scorpion, I did see some massive frame drops with that Rad Scorpion on screen. So when things started to kind of kick up there, and that I guess it was the high res textures maybe on the Rad Scorpion. I mean, he did have some pretty good textures on his back there, that exoskeleton. Check that out. But in the fight, I actually saw some drops down even into the 30s, which very quickly came back up. But it was a momentary drop down into the 30s, which was rather unfortunate. Not really 100% sure if that's just the high res texture pack or if it's the optimization of Fallout 4, which is not perfect. I mean, this game, it runs great. Don't get me wrong. But it has little kind of like issues where every once and again you'll just get drops, or you'll go into the cities, like people had kind of asked about in the comments. They're saying you'll go into the cities because that's where we see a lot of the frame drops. I didn't really see any big frame drops in the city, not like massive spikes anyway. It was just kind of, okay, there's a lot more objects on screen here, so we're going to be getting a little bit lower FPS for some period of time. But for the most part, in Diamond City and the fens and all around that area, the game ran absolutely fine, even in 4K. It was only really when I went out into the wasteland, and it seemed like a lot of the sun effects, like the lighting, may have been actually causing that as well, because I noticed the difference between daytime and nighttime. But either way, the GTX 1080 is certainly able to keep up here with and deliver what I would say is a playable experience. You're not going to be getting 60 FPS constantly, so if you're someone that needs 60 FPS constantly, then you're not going to be able to get it on a GTX 1080 at 4K in Fallout 4 with the high-resolution texture pack. So if you need that with the max details and everything cranked up, then that's something you may want to look at, lowering some options, maybe lowering down God rays, ambient occlusion, stuff like that. But I would certainly look at lowering those things before eliminating the high resolution texture pack, because as someone that has gamed at 4K over extended periods of time, I can tell you that the benefits you'll see of the high-resolution texture pack will greatly outweigh a couple of extra, lighting tweaks that you may see for 4K at least, because at 4K it's really about getting that super duper crisp image, and you can get that now at least in Fallout 4 with the high resolution texture pack. If you were playing at 4K previously, maybe you can let us know down in the comments below how this has impacted your experience in Fallout 4 if you want more games out there with high-res texture packs. I certainly don't think it could hurt to have more high-resolution texture packs. I'd like Battlefield 1 to get one. Even though that game already looks pretty great, I think it could still do with a high-res texture pack, 4K texture pack. Come on, DICE. I know you're probably not even watching this video because we're talking about Bethesda, but still, come on, DICE. We want 4K textures in Battlefield 1. I think I speak for everyone when I say that. So, I'm going to go ahead and get on out of here, guys. Please let me know your thoughts down in the comments below on the Fallout 4 footage in 4K. This was just kind of meant to be a quick follow-up and wait for you guys to enjoy some gameplay, and I think I've kind of prattled along long enough here, talking, mumbling, just saying words to fill up time and space on the internet. So I'm just going to go ahead now, and I'll be with my thoughts alone, and you guys can just you can leave a like and a comment and a subscribe. That's always nice. All right, that's all. Nothing special. Ta-da!